Ever had a conversation where you made a bold statement, then paused, tilted your head, and said, "On second thought"? Welcome to On Second Thought with Eric Ritchie and Bish Bates, where hot takes meet humble pivots, where leadership, life, and current events collide, and where it's perfectly fine to change your mind, out loud. Whether it's marriage, manhood, or the madness in the media, Eric and Bish bring humor, heart, and a little healthy debate, because wisdom lives on the other side of, "Wait, let me rethink that." This is On Second Thought. Press play and be ready to pause.
All right, what's up, man?
How you doing, man? It's been a little bit. Dang, it's been what, a month almost?
Has it really?
It has, man. I think it was
Jeez.
just around the new year. Shoot.
Yeah, well, that's yeah.
You've had a lot going on, though. Are you doing all right?
I have. Yeah, a lot going on. Daughter was. I was sick for like I don't know, 2-3 weeks in December. Had a weird kidney infection. It was nuts. I've never, aside from COVID, and maybe worse than COVID. I mean, that was either the sickest I've ever been or second sickest I've ever been. It was sort of crazy. And then it just took me out, and the symptoms kept like stacking on top of each other. And then when something would go away, something new would happen. And so it was a whole long thing, man. It was crazy. And then Kayla,
you're doing good now. You're doing good now.
Oh yeah, I'm good. Like I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. And then Kayla ended up in
your
hospital
daughter
for 2 weeks. So and that was probably either her sickest she's ever been. It probably was her sickest because she was actually in the PCU, which is one step below the ICU. So it's probably
never heard of the PCU. Right.
Progressive Care Unit.
Progressive care. Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes some places call it IMC, like intermediate care. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, or some people actually call it step down, because oftentimes when you're in the ICU, you step down to. So, but different words for not a regular unit in the hospital, but not the ICU. It's in between those two. So she ended up there. So yeah, she had a rough, man, and so we really got to get this transplant, moving.
Do we have a timeline on it?
The original timeline was as soon as school finished in May, June. But it's entirely possible that we will have to accelerate it because, we can't risk her getting much sicker, and we can't especially risk her getting something happening where she becomes too sick for the transplant. Right, because you do have that risk, you know what I'm saying? And so we're gonna have to do that. So yeah, so that's sort of where we're at with her. So
you've been dealing with quite a bit between your illness and your daughter's illness. It's a lot going on, plus work in between everything, right?
Yeah. Work is so I work for for FEMA, and they're doing that whole thing where they're taking the people that are on term contracts and they're just not renewing those contracts, and I'm one of those people. And my contract is up in April. And so if they continue on the current path, I won't have a job in April. I'll be unemployed in April. So I'm currently out there looking aggressively, seeing, what's out there. And I feel like the ugly dude on Tinder or something, wherever people do dating at, man.
No one wants to connect with you.
Nobody's swiping right. Whichever's the one where you like it. Nobody's swiping right on me. It's some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's swiping right at this point. And so so I'm all like, "Hey, how you doing, girl?" And they're like, "Ew."
It's tough, man. Looking for jobs is tough.
Yeah, I think we could be a good match. You know what I'm saying? It looks like I got what you need. You know what I'm saying? Look at my experience and resume. I think I got. No, so far all I've gotten is declinations. I've got no calls, no nothing, no swipe rights, whatever that is. I've got no swipe rights at this point.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I've gone for things that are like I'm completely qualified for. There's no question about it. And I've gone for things that I went, kind of maybe. And so for the most part, actually maybe exclusively, the swipe rights are ones where I went, yeah, okay, I get that. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't gotten the declination yet. With one, I was just like, what? Like I really should have that, sort of thing. So if I start getting those start coming through where I'm like, I know I'm 100% qualified. And I don't mean like, I know I'm qualified, but my resume says I'm qualified.
Right. Yeah.
Then I will probably start getting a little bit worried about it. So we'll see how that all plays out. And I'm hopeful to be able to like for it to be a net positive, if that makes any sense, right? And that right now I have to go into DC every day. You probably add 4 hours a day to my day between traveling in and traveling home. And I would love the opportunity to get that time back, right? To have a position where it's hybrid, where the work is closer, that sort of thing. And so if I have to move on from FEMA, then that's the case. And the thing is that even if they start extending people, they're likely only going to extend people for 90 days at a time. And that provides no job security. So I don't get a 90-day stay of execution to go, I'm good. I'm gonna keep looking, because 90 days, that's how long it takes to get a job. If you're lucky, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yeah, it does.
So I'm like, 90 days at a time, I may take a breath if they do 6 months. And I don't mean a breath like I'll stop looking, but maybe I'll be more selective and all that sort of stuff if they do a 6-month extension. But 90-day extension changes nothing for me, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So anyway, so that's what's going on, from a job standpoint. Man, how's things going with you?
I'm about to hit my 90 days at this new job. So
Okay.
It's been very interesting, getting back into corporate America for sure, and trying to match their expectations, as well as working with a manager who hasn't managed managers before is always interesting. It's a new promotion. So it is something that is a little bit challenging, but sometimes as I tell people all the time, this is one of those areas where you got to manage up. You want to help your manager be better, because you'll have a better work environment. Your people will have a better work environment if you can help your manager be better at his job.
Right.
And that's the challenge. One, is he open to it? Does he listen? And will it make the impact that you're hoping it's going to make, to not just have me be happier at the job, but have my team be happier as well. And that's the challenge, because when you first get promoted to manage managers, you don't know what you're doing. You just don't. You want to be, you only know your level, right? You know your level. So you try to manage everyone to be like you were at that level, basically. And that's not what they need. They need you to be there to support them and to help them out, and to work through any issues they may have. But otherwise, you need to trust them to do their job, just like you wanted to be trusted to do your job when you were in this role. And a lot of new managers don't get that. And I get that they stumble. I stumbled, for sure. I wanted to be that super manager that wanted everyone to rise up to my level. And you can't have those expectations as a manager managing managers or other leaders. You've got to give them the support that they need. And I think new managers don't recognize that. They just want to go in and prove themselves right away and show what my team's doing and show what I can do managing these teams and how awesome I can be, because you're only recognized for how your teams perform.
Right.
So you sweat that out to, instead of just letting them do what they do, you want to try to control it all, because their success shows your success. And when you're new at doing that, you go into panic mode, I think, a lot sooner than just managing a team of associates. So that's my first 90 days has been my challenge, of being back in corporate America and realizing how many fingers get involved in what it is that you need to do on a regular, because everyone that's outside of that realm has great ideas for what to do with your team.
Right.
But so far as understanding the changes that you try to make really impacts their daily life. So that's some of the challenges that I'm facing. And I had to sit down with my manager probably a week or so ago and just say, I feel like we have a problem or a disconnect. I don't know if you're not happy with me or if I've done something to show that I'm not capable of doing my job. But you stepping in the way you are and being upset about things that I don't know or understand yet about what you're trying to accomplish or get done needs to be a little more supportive than what it has been. So, and he was open to that conversation. And I think it went well. And that's what you need. You need a manager who recognizes they're new in their role and they want to be supportive. They just don't know how.
Yeah, well, and
Yeah,
here's the, well, yeah, I agree 100%. The only thing I would say is I think that you need to have that ability to hear feedback and to adjust and to, sort of infuse other people's perspective and their experience of you, regardless of whether you're new or not, right? You can feel very confident in your role and should still be able to hear that and take that in. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, so it is good that he heard that. But I think experienced managers could learn from that part as well, right?
Sure.
To do that. So.
Sure. I think looking in at yourself is one of the toughest things, because usually you think you're good enough. You're in your position for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You got promoted for a reason that you don't have anything else to learn. And usually it's the opposite.
It is no matter what
more to learn.
Yeah, like you always do. I think I've said this before, and I know I've said it to you, whether it's on here or not, that those managers, supervisors, leaders who are sort of constant students, always saying, I can get better. I know I can get better. And I'm just looking to find ways. Those are the people that actually are always the best ones that I see. The people who swear that they've got it together are the ones who don't have it together, right? Like to a person, they never have it together, right?
Sure.
I have yet to meet someone who is uber confident and great.
Yeah.
Because that confidence is what actually leads to you not being great, because you might have been great at some point, but the second you gain that confidence, you stop growing, and therefore people are passing you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that is a hallmark, if that's the right word, of someone who is actually either is or is on their way to being a great manager. Is that sort of idea of actually never being satisfied, never feeling like you've arrived, but always feeling like you're on that journey and you still have something to learn and to get better and to figure out. You know what I'm saying? So, so yeah. I'm dealing with not at the manager level, but at the employee level, some struggles, because one of the things that's happening, I don't know if you pay attention to all of the sort of the executive orders and things that come through, but one of the things that came through.
Can't keep up with all of them, man.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with all of them.
It's a lot, man. It's like being waterboarded with
like drinking
orders,
from a
man.
fire hose sometimes,
Yeah.
It's like, what is the new thing?
So one of them that came through, and it came through a while, like early in the administration, but they're now sort of executing some of the stuff, is the idea of so most people in the federal government get 4s and 5s, like meets expectations as a 3. 4 and 5 is exceeds or achieves excellence. Most people get 4s and 5s.
You shouldn't. Most people should not receive that.
They should not. But that's what was happening in the federal government. And so the administration came in, right? And they said they recognized that shouldn't be the case, right? We need to sort of reestablish what expectations are. And so we're going through that now. Where for 2026, we are resetting sort of what the expectations are going to be. And it has been, even though we've sort of, talked about it for the last couple of months, we've told them it was coming. Once I set the goals for 2026 for my team and started sharing and, having the meetings with them and sharing them with them, where it's like, it's like sticker shock. I mean, it has been, I have had 3 people now in tears in these meetings. And that's not a good thing, right? I don't think, you know what I'm saying? And they feel
not tears of joy. You're saying
not tears of joy. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And so they feel like they're being set up to fail.
Sure.
Right. That's how they feel. And here's the thing. I try to be very reasonable. And so I'm very confident that everybody on my team, but each of the people that had this very extreme version of the reaction, or just, maybe they're just more in touch with their emotions and it came out. They can completely meet. And by the way, when I say expectations, I don't mean the meets. They're upset, and everybody's upset because they're saying, well, I need to get the exceeds expectation, the achieved excellence, and the 5, right? So they are upset about, can I do the 5, right? Can I get to the 5? And part of what I had said to them was, I set them at a level where I don't expect everybody to meet them, right? Because if you set it at a level where you expect everybody to meet it, then that is not achieved excellence, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that you can't have a team full of people that achieve excellence. And if I'm doing my job and helping people grow, then I have a team of excellent people. But if I'm doing stretchingly realistic goals, then then most people should not meet it. And so I was having a meeting with the team, and they felt like, so you're suggesting that you don't think I can meet them? And I'm like, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm confident that all 10 of you, it's 10 people on my team, right? All 10 of you are not going to do the work to get the 5s. I think some of you will. I don't know who that's going to be, but I think some of you will, but I think all 10 of you are not going to do it. It's just human nature, right? And so they thought I was sort of, somehow I was making other people's goals. By the way, all their goals are very similar, right? They're not exactly the same because they have different programs and things, but they thought that somehow I was doing some sort of, I don't know, like underhanded thing where I was making some people's goals harder and easier. And what they don't know is all your goals are very similar. Like you may have a different program, so there may be some adjustments, but they're very similar. And so it was just a bit, I would call it sticker shock. It's just been a lot of meetings, long meetings, people being upset, trying to get them to understand. And I've told them that I don't disagree with the direction that we're going in terms of saying that if you're going to get a 5, it's because you did stuff above and beyond. Right? Not because you did what you were supposed to do, but you did more than really what you're supposed to do. That's what a 5 is. And when I came from the private sector, that's what it was. If you got that, it's because you earned what the average person didn't get a 5, right? And so it's just a culture change that we're going through, and it's difficult for people to understand because they're used to it. And by the way, if you get, in the federal government, if you get a 3, you don't get a bonus. Right. So only the 4s and 5s get bonuses. So it hits their pocket as well.
Yeah.
So it's just coming to grips with that. Right. And it's probably happening for them. It's happening fast. Now, same thing is happening with me. Right. As a supervisor, I'm being held to a much higher standard. Right. And so I have to understand that it's less likely that I will get a 4 or a 5. Right. And so it's just everybody's sort of coming to that realization. But I do think that long term, it is the right thing because I do think that in the federal government, we had this thing where everybody just expected to get it, and maybe we make it so that people who get 3s can get a little something, right? Maybe that's a change we can make because it's not about, because it's not about the money. When I say people shouldn't earn 4s and 5s, I'm not saying they shouldn't earn a bonus. I'm saying that what a 4 and a 5 should be, what exceeds expectations and achieve excellence is, in my mind, is we've lowered that bar. And so I think it's right to raise the bar. And so so it feels a little less punitive. Excuse me. Maybe we do something with the money. I don't know. But all I can tell you is this has been a tough week because this is the week where I had the conversations with individuals and with the team about what those 2026 goals look like. And it was tough. It was tough meetings. It was a lot of tough meetings. It really was. And then I was like, you know what? They're about to fire me in 3 months, man. Why am I going through this? That was the thought I had. I was like, FEMA's about to fire me. Why am I even going through this? I'm having these tough ass conversations with my people and making them upset with me and all this stuff. And I'm just like, maybe I should have just been like, F it. But I don't know. Something in me just can't do that. I don't know. I sometimes I want to be that person. I want to be like, man, forget this. Well, I don't care. But I have trouble not caring.
Well, that's the difference between being a manager and being a leader, right? A leader is you do the right thing regardless of the situation, right? Yeah. That's what integrity is. So regardless of if you have a job, just like those people where the company's shutting down, but you have to stay to the end till the company shuts down, you're still going to have the same pride you should. If you're at the pinnacle of your career and that level, you should have the same pride in doing your work, whether you're going to continue to be with the company or not, because it's still your reputation. As I used to say, what's your footprint look like? When you leave there, what are they going to remember about Bish and what he did, whether it was tough times or easy times? And the tough times is what really determined who you are. That's where your real integrity comes through, is during the tough times. It's not during the easy times. The easy times, everyone's happy, partying, doing whatever, having a great time, love my job, do my job well. But during tough times, how do you continue to have that high level of performance, accountability, and don't let it slide? Now, I do agree with you. I think at any level, if you are meeting expectations of doing your job, which is what you were hired for, there should be some reward for that. Now, if you succeeded, that reward should be higher. But if you meet what the company hired you to do, and you do that job well every day, that keeps it moving and keeps the company thriving, I agree with you. If you're strong, which is in the middle, you should be rewarded. Now, it might be 2%. Versus the 4 or 5%. It doesn't matter. You should.
In the government, it's like the number is like the 2%, 3% number for the exceeds, like for the highest number. It's a little.
Yeah, that's a problem. Which is another problem for the federal government, because everyone knows if you leave the federal government, you should be able to go get more in the private sector because of how the government government pays,
Right.
So for them to continue to want to hurt the people that are doing the work for the government, which already pays low anyways, it does feel like a slap in the face. And I would understand the tears, because you can't keep up with inflation. You can't keep up with the rising costs of everything if you're not receiving that minimal markup for doing your job on the year end, so.
Yeah, well, here's what I will say though. I think that there are two versions of being in the government, two parts of being in the government, right? I think that a lot of times where you start at can be less than the private sector, but because the federal government often has things like these ladders, right? That you go from one grade to another grade to another grade, just by performing, not overperforming, but just performing what you're supposed to do. And they have these steps that you get regardless, right? And so what you do have the ability to do in the government is sort of to have your income grow at a pace that you really can't be matched in the private sector.
Okay.
So I think where you start at tends to be lower in the government, but where you can get to sometimes can be higher.
Okay.
And so I think it's a weird thing. So people in the government, because for example, I'm now looking for jobs in the private sector, and what I've realized is that the level of job that I need to match the income that I make now is higher than when I came into the government. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I now need to find a higher position outside of the government to match my income. Whereas when I came into the government, I got a lower position. You know what I'm saying? So that's the weird part of it all, is that it just depends on sort of where you are in your career. But at some point, it does become a little hard to match, the government salary, especially if you're in one of those places where you have the, you get a geographic differential. If you're in a place with a pretty decent geographic differential, which DC area is one of the higher ones. California has high ones and stuff like that. So that's all sort of part of the, the challenge with it all. Because when I'm being honest, when I look out there and I'm trying to be in a similar income range than where I'm at right now, I'm just like, geez, man, these jobs are not out here. Now I know it's also a tough job market, right? So that's part of it. But even when I look at it and I think about sort of the level, right? I probably have to be at a slightly like the next level in the government to match my income in the private sector. So do something equal to the next level in the government in the private sector in order to match my income, for the most part. So we'll have to see, sort of how all that plays out. But I think that's all part of it. So
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting.
No, for sure. And the challenge is real every time you get to the end of your discussion, because you need to motivate your team. You want them to stick around. You want them to continue to improve. But if they're not seeing a way forward and their benefits there, then they become disgruntled.
Yep.
Performance goes down, looking for a way out, whether it's transferring within the government to a different area or going to private sector, trying to get more because they feel disrespected for doing the work that they did and not being recognized by their bosses, by the government in this particular situation. And as we know, the administration doesn't feel a lot of need for FEMA to be nationally recognized. So why pay them? And if they've dropped the ball and they're not performing the way that they want to see it, if they want it to go state level, then it's even harder to make a good argument for what you do is valuable and adds a lot of value to what is needed. But I would argue that FEMA is a security blanket that everyone feels that they need, just like Social Security. If there's a catastrophe that comes through, fire, flood, whatever the case might be, that wipes them out, they're looking for an agency in the government to assist them, and not just their insurance. A lot of them don't carry insurance, so it's challenging because insurance rates are crazy right now. They're as bad as taxes. So when it comes to trying to get people out of their mortgages in situations. So, but I think trusting a state to regulate it doesn't necessarily go down the right path either. But in general, it's just challenging whenever we have these year-end reviews. What's interesting with my private sector job is we have the year-end reviews, which may not be positive, And following them, we have our employee survey to see how happy they are with your manager and the company. And it's like, and that survey determines whether you have a job or not as a manager.
Wow. The timing is dubious.
The timing is ridiculous. Yes, it should probably be before they get,
or just completely disconnected mid-year or something. So, even this, what I'm saying, make it
the timing of it.
Yeah.
Well, we do mid-year reviews. We do mid-year reviews and end-of-year reviews.
All right. Well, somewhere not connected to that. In the middle of the first quarter, end of the first quarter, end of the third quarter, something like that, where it's just not connected to it, so that people aren't overly thinking about that. Because you shouldn't have to think about how are they going to review me when you're thinking of reviewing them, right? Yep. Because one of the things that we talk about when we, in the classes we teach, is oftentimes what managers will do is, especially those managers who want feedback, right? What they will do is they will in the end of year conversation say, hey, can you give me feedback on my performance? What am I doing? I'm like, no, don't connect that shit, because they're going to worry. They don't want to give you negative feedback in the midst of you giving them feedback, right? So you have to completely disconnect those things so that people can feel like they can be honest, but also not feel pressured that they, to say something. Well, I'm saying the same thing, but to not feel pressured to say something other than their truth, because they're worried about how it will impact, what the other person has to say, right? And so you just have to disconnect those things. So,
and it's tough to do. People have a hard time with that, because if you're giving me a poor review, now I'm going to give you a poor review, even though you've done everything you can in your role to support me. And I didn't do a great job in my job this year for whatever reason. I had personal issues. I just doing what I needed to do. I'm still going to hold you accountable for my bad review, because I'm human and I'm upset.
Yep.
And
that's 100%.
That's nature. That's nature. Is if I'm going to be penalized, you're going to be penalized.
Yep.
If you're going to get me in trouble, I'm going to. That just like when you were growing up with your sister. It's like, you told on me, I'm going to tell on you, or I'm going to make it difficult on you. That doesn't change as you're an adult. It just doesn't. There's no the rationale doesn't kick in and say, well, I didn't do the best job, and I'm not going to hold my boss accountable for my bad review for saying I'm inconsistent or I'm just not performing, even though I acknowledge it was me. When the review comes out, I'm going to hold them just as accountable, So, and what's tough is then the company holds you accountable for those reviews,
right?
As if that's a real snapshot of how you're doing, and I would respectfully say it's not. You can't fairly hold your people accountable, be honest with them, and hope your review is good, because that would require a different level of maturity that doesn't naturally happen as humans when one is critiqued. Sort of like when you're on the playground and you insult somebody and like, I'll rubber your glue back to you, whatever the case might be, is when someone hurts you, your natural instinct is to want to hurt them back.
Yeah.
For whatever case that means. But I don't think sometimes the associates recognize how those reviews actually affect their manager. I think they're just, I really think that they just feel like they're trying to tell the company they're not thrilled with software not working, computers not working. I don't like feeling micromanaged, even though they're following, the company policies and procedures, and those things fall back on you, and it's like my old manager that said, you got to be able to hold them accountable, write them up, and make them feel good about it at the same time.
That's impossible.
That's a different level of maturity.
I should say
maturity.
Yeah, that's going to be dependent on the person, right?
100%, 100%.
But that doesn't. But here's the thing: the only thing I would say about that is, but you can have two people who do those things and have different impacts on their people systemically. Meaning, if they had the same people, how you do all of that as a manager could be. You can do it differently. And one way could have a better impact on your people than another way. So it's not like the manager has no influence on that stuff. They actually do have influence on how their people perceive them based on how they do those things. But to your point, I was thinking about it as you were talking about it. I wonder if a better measure for your company that specifically is very specific about sort of those manager evaluations is almost a coefficient, right? Of how your people rate you specifically in comparison to how you have rated them. right? So that it factors in when one manager is tougher than another, right? Because right now, if you're not gonna hold managers accountable, generally speaking, for being equally tough across the board, then you shouldn't penalize those that are actually doing the things you want versus those that are not doing the things you want in terms of holding people accountable. So if on average I give my, I'm making this up, but if on average I give my people 3.5 on a 5-point scale, and my people give me a 4.2 on a 5-point scale, right? Then that there's a coefficient there, right? 3.5 compared to 4.2. Whereas if you give all your people 5s and then they give you a 4.5, that's actually worse in comparison. Does that make sense? So I think they could do some sort of math there in order to maybe factor that part in, because I do think that matters. Right?
The actual dichotomy of things factors out the managers that do not hold their people accountable get higher ratings than those that do what the company asks them to do.
Right.
So now those managers tend to get rewarded,
right,
for not doing their job appropriately, because their people appear happy because there's no accountability.
So,
and that's the real challenge when you set up a corporate environment like this, I would say.
All right. So I'm with you 100%. And I'm curious, what if you played the game, right?
Yeah.
And the game you played is that you have those conversations about helping your people be better. You do that accountability, but you just never sort of get it to the final evaluation portion of it, so that their evaluations are good, so that when it comes time for them to evaluate you, maybe they evaluate you better, even though you do throughout the course of the year, you're at least having those conversations about how can we get better, how can we continue to grow, how can we go meet the needs of the organization and the benchmarks that have been set. But when it comes time for, and this, by the way, this is what happens in the federal government, by the way. That's why everybody gets 4 and 5, right? Because even if you're trying to hold people accountable, it never ends up in the final thing. But if you're in an environment, right, where you're going to get penalized for doing that, what if you do that? What if you continue to help people grow, you do those things, but you pull the teeth out of it? You don't actually have that end up in the final evaluations, so that by the time, so that when you're doing the evaluations, because they're closely aligned, people are feeling good about the ratings you give them. Therefore, they are likely to give you good ratings. It's the game to play, right?
Yep.
But you're not giving up on helping them grow and get better. You're just not going to let that end up in the evaluations, because you know that's ultimately just going to hurt you in the long term. I don't know if that works.
So let me ask you: Does that feel good? Does that feel like you're doing your job, or are you doing a disservice?
Well, so I would fully feel like I was doing a disservice if I wasn't having those conversations at all. Right. But I also generally speaking, feel like I do a better than average job as a leader, so that on average, if they got somebody else as their leader, it would be worse for them.
Sure.
So if the choice is right, so we're not in a Pollyanna world, we're not in a utopia, right? So it's choices between it's choices. So yeah. I would set up the choices as being,
man, you need to get an antacid in you or something.
I know, right?
Man, your stomach is not good.
The choices as being, I hold them accountable throughout the year, and my ratings for them at the end of year reflect where they actually are, and continue that accountability. And within a year or two, I get dismissed by the company because because people are rating me low, and they get a new manager who is not going to do as good of a job at meeting the company requirements, nor at helping them grow and get better.
Yeah.
Right. That's option one. Option two is I hold them accountable throughout the year, have those conversations about how can we get better. But when it comes to the end of the year, it's a celebration of their successes. I give them higher than what I would normally give them ratings. They in turn give me higher than what they would have ratings than what they would given me if I had given them sort of true ratings.
Yeah.
I continue to be their manager. I continue to help them grow.
Yeah.
Right? I continue to help us meet the company's goals, and I continue to be in my position. In my mind, those are the two choices. And of those two choices, I think the latter, the second choice, is better. That doesn't mean that if I would create the world myself, I wouldn't want it to be so that I could get either, I could hold them fully accountable in a way that feels right for me, as well as not end up having my job in jeopardy. But if that's not a choice, if that's not an option that will happen, then I got to go with the two options that are there, and it's the second option. Not saying it feels good, not saying it's ideally right, but you're operating within the system that you work in. The same way that if we think about people that have jobs all over the place, right? If you think about being a police officer, as an example, I won't get too deep in anything, but being a police officer, police often work in broken systems. They work in a broken society. They often work in a broken system within the actual police force, right? In terms of there's not the mechanisms to ensure that police officers that are going rogue, that are doing the things they're not supposed to do, get held accountable so it doesn't reflect poorly on all the police officers. Also, so that they are appropriately respected and treated and safe when they're doing their job, right? They're in a system that doesn't do either one of those things very well. So they have to adjust based on the system. You can't go, well, I'm going to operate on my own, because if you operate on your own, you go, I'm going to call out every dirty cop that I see. Guess what? At some point, you ain't going to make it home from a shift, right? you did what you thought was right, but now you're dead and you're not there for your family, right? So you have to make these choices. So you have to operate within the system you're in. And I'm simply saying, operate within the system you're in. You can fight the power and try to change the system, but until that system is changed, you got to operate within that system.
Definitely giving me something to think about and consider, for sure, man.
Again, I'm not suggesting that it's the easy thing. It's just like you got to look at the two choices that you have. You know what I'm saying?
No, I hear you. It's definitely something to consider. As like I said, new into corporate America again, very different than small business and where you can handle situations. And it's just the challenges are real. For sure. So you see something, something isn't right. You can't act on it like you can in a small business situation, so yeah.
That's true.
So you guys get that ice out there? You get that snow? What do you guys got going on?
Yeah. So before we got on, I was outside shoveling. So we got about, 6, 7 inches, 8 inches, something like that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I cannot tell the difference between 6 and 8 inches, and you know that. So but
we need it in your wife. So
we got some snow, and they were telling us pretty aggressively, like, listen, it's going to change over to sleet and freezing rain, and it's going to make it all very much heavier. So you should get out there and sort of shovel early versus waiting for it all to finish. And so I did go out and get some done. Though I didn't finish it all, but I got some shoveling done. Got the cars cleared out, got the cars moved a little bit, and started clearing some stuff out. But we're expecting this to continue. I mean, it's about 12:30 now, Eastern Standard Time. We're expecting another 8 hours of sleet and freezing rain to sort of pile on top. So we're definitely not done with all this yet. We won't get a ton more accumulation because sleet and freezing rain doesn't accumulate quite at the same level that snow does. But we got it coming for the next.
The problem is it's more dense.
It is.
Like snow is fluffy. This is not fluffy. We got mostly ice, and it felt like just sugar or salt falling from the sky. It's getting everywhere. And I haven't been outside. It's 15 degrees without the wind chill right now here in 15 Dallas.
In Texas. That's nuts. That is nuts, man. Wow. It's actually colder there than it is here right now.
Wow. We have no systems in place to handle this,
right.
Versus what you guys have out there.
Right?
Everything shuts down. You can't get out of your neighborhood. We don't have people that come through and do the neighborhood clears or anything like that. So you have to be able to find a way to get to the main street, but it's just sheets of ice on top of ice.
There is no amount of driving skill that overcomes driving on ice.
It's funny you say that, because when I moved to Baltimore originally, I had a sports car, and I got rid of it when I knew I was moving to Maryland, and I got an SUV.
What did you have? I don't think we ever talked about it. What did you have?
I had a convertible hardtop Mercedes. So
okay, why were you hesitant to say what it was?
Because I was young and stupid, and it's funny because it was a convertible, and I didn't want to mess up my hair, or my date's hair. So it's like, it's nice to have a convertible, but no one ever wants to use the convertible because they're like,
that's some white people shit right there, bro. I don't want to
your hair ain't moving, man. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Your hair.
White people like we gotta wear.
Okay, you take your wife out after she gets her hair done in a convertible and see how she feels about it.
No, my wife definitely did. Like I had a convertible Corvette.
So don't say it's a white person.
My wife did not like that. but that's why I never took it out there. But my girlfriend loved it, so I was good. You know,
Hey, stop! Yeah, drink that
Joking.
drink again.
Joking.
That was a joke.
That was a joke.
That was a joke, sweeties. But yeah, so I got rid of the Mercedes and got a 4-wheel drive vehicle because I was scared about moving to Maryland.
Yeah.
And I remember there was an old joke I read about some guy moving to the Northeast, and basically that it ends with there's no amount of skill. All 4 wheels will be going in the same direction as you spin out on ice because there's nothing you can do, about ice. You know, and the end of the story is I'm moving back to the South because I'm not ready for this crap. And 8 years later, after 2 blizzards in Baltimore, I was like, I'm done. I was out and moved back here. And it didn't really snow like this in Texas before I moved here. It used to be an occasional ice something, which would be very little.
Right.
But now I think there was like 4 or 5 inches of ice and snow out there. And this is November or January. And this usually comes in February to end the winter. Yeah. So this is earlier than normal. At least we have power. We didn't have power a few years back when this all happened before. So that this is nice,
the reason that you're having like more frequent, these winter issues is because Ted Cruz is making it happen, so he has a reason to go on vacation and leave Texas. So that's, he's like, I need a vacation.
Yeah, the joke is every time we see Ted Cruz get on a plane, we're like, oh crap, what is he doing? What's going on? What's about to happen? So yeah, that bastard. But so it's cold. The nice thing is we do have a garage, and it's an insulated garage, so I'm not getting, my cars are good. The refrigerator and freezer still working in there because what's
an insulated versus non-insulated garage?
So the garage door will be lined and is heavier steel and will have insulation built into it, so it stops the cold coming in. Now they're a little bit more expensive than just the thin things.
I'm going to assume that in the Northeast they're all insulated. I could be wrong, but
and you guys insulate your pipes as well, so you don't have to necessarily drip your pipes. We have to drip our pipes and open our cabinet doors.
We do that too, because you can still get some frozen stuff. So that was part of what we talked about.
But you guys still insulate everything. We do not, because it's not necessary. So we're more likely and prone to having burst pipes and frozen pipes because in the South we do not insulate around the pipes like y'all do in the Northeast. So
we definitely got thicker pipes up here.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. So
Baltimore boys got thick pipes, buddy.
No, it's not what it is. That's the difference. You're using different words. So anyhow, I haven't even been outside to go get the mail because even at my age, I don't want to slip and fall.
Bro,
I mean, in my 30s, I could slip and jump up, but now, it's like not fun to even do it. I could put my boots on. I don't care what's in the mailbox until Tuesday.
I understand.
And that's the difference with age, like I'm not just bouncing out there for fun. And my kids are kind of disappointed because it's a dry, dusty snow. And even though it's mostly ice, it doesn't really fluff up. So you can't really do or build anything with it, So it's just not fun, except school is closed on Monday as of now. So, and you guys apparently might be closed all week because of how the ice is. I just saw on the news that they might shut down, even though your snow and stuff's going to stop today or tomorrow. They're talking about being shut down all week in DC because
it's just going to refreeze all night. Because our lows are all in the single digits all week. We're not going to have a high above freezing until next Tuesday, not this upcoming Tuesday, next Tuesday, and that's only going to be 33. Right. So they're expecting it to stay there. Even if you get lucky and the sun's out and it does some amount of melt, it's going to freeze it all.
Freeze again at night.
At night. So it's just going to be ice every night on the streets. And so, that's, like Minnesota, ice every night on the streets.
Different kind of ice, man. Yeah, this is not as killer. This isn't as killer what you have in DC.
Yeah, I know. By the way, what's in your cup? By the way, we didn't talk about that. What's in your cup? What you got today?
I just got be sure my wife's not listening. I got basically vodka with a little bit of coffee liqueur.
Okay, so it's like a White Russian, correct?
It's a Black Russian because I don't have any cream in it. Yeah, I don't have any cream in it, but I need to watch my sugars. I need to watch my sugars, so I'm not supposed to have it. But what do you got going on?
I got a cinnamon apple. You know what that is?
That's all sugar is what I hear. So
First of all, every drink I will ever have is sugar. Like the number one ingredient is sugar, and alcohol is the second ingredient. Like let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? If we had a table, it would be sugar first, and be like big sugar, and then then big little alcohol, and then all the rest of the stuff. Man, that's all of it. But yeah, so it's that's Fireball and apple juice. So
Fireball and apple juice. Okay. There's so many other things you could do with that thing. So
say more.
With the Fireball, like you could have put there's a white chocolate liqueur you could put in there. You could put a cinnamon white liqueur in there as well.
That all requires planning. See, what you don't understand is we have Fireball, and our granddaughter is here to ride out the snow with us.
So you have apple juice.
So we got apple juice in the house, bro. You go what you got. You know what I'm saying? Got to use what you
You're
got.
creative.
You got,
you got the creativity going for sure, man. You got the creativity going for sure. So but anyhow, so you gonna watch some football tonight, this afternoon?
I don't know. So today's my birthday, and so we'll probably do a little something for my birthday. And of course, we're sort of snowed in for it. You know what I'm saying? But I actually have no plans. I actually have no plans. I hadn't thought about what we were gonna do. I don't need to get out and shovel at least one more time. And then I just got some homework to do, and I have job search stuff, right? I got to do all that stuff, so I got to take the opportunities where I can get. And I got a couple of meetings today.
What do you mean meeting? Oh,
for the fraternity
meetings,
fraternity stuff. So that's pretty much what I have on my agenda. So are both the games today, like AFC and NFC championship?
Yeah, 2:00 and 5:00 Central Time. So
my guess is, even though I hadn't planned on it, I can't imagine that I wouldn't tune in at some point, regardless of what I'm doing. I'm sure I would have it on
in the background.
All right, let me see if I got this right, because I've not been paying attention. Oh, by the way, Ravens.
No. New coach, new head coach.
Yes, we got a new coach.
Who do you have? Who did you get?
Jesse Minter he is the Chargers defensive coordinator. He came up through the ranks of the Ravens a little while back under Harbaugh, then went to the other Harbaugh, I think at Michigan, and then went with the Jim Harbaugh over to the Chargers, and so then it's coming to us. So he knows the Ravens culture a little bit. We're going to hopefully bring back a defensive culture. He created a pretty good defense with the Chargers. I am keenly watching out for who he hires as the offensive coordinator, right? So I wanted one of those young, innovative offensive coordinators. That's what I wanted. But okay, we got a defensive guy. Now I need you to hire a young, innovative offensive coordinator, Jesse Minter, bro. So I need you to work that out. And if we get somebody who I go, okay, he's gonna be able to use Lamar and Derek, because we don't have like the world's greatest receiving core, but we have Zay Flowers, who's good, right? He's a speedster who's good. We have DeAndre Hopkins, who's at the tail end of his career, but he still does his thing. Then we got some serviceable others, as well as two really good tight ends in Mark Andrews and I'm the other dude's name who I really like, but the other guy. We got two good tight ends. So we have some weapons, right? And so we should be able to do something with the right offensive coordinator who calls the plays right at the right time, because that's part of the issue. Is our recent history of offensive coordinators is they abandon the run at times when you don't have a top 3 running back in your backfield and not use them. It's so nuts. So I'm hopeful. Hopefully he brings it in. So I have a little bit of hope with that. So we shall see. So yeah.
What was it like to lose Harbaugh after he's been there for so long?
I was ready. I was ready for him to go. I was ready for him to go.
Do you think the Steelers felt the same way about Tomlin leaving when he left?
Maybe, because at some point, well, see, here's the difference between Tomlin and Harbaugh. Tomlin had been there for a long time. He was sort of a staple. Harbaugh too, only 1 year less. But Harbaugh had weapons that Tomlin did not have. Tomlin had a couple of defensive weapons, but he really didn't have much on offense for the most part, right? And so our expectations, I think, were higher. Like, we underperformed year after year after year after year for like the last 5 to 7 years. And with top 2 to 3 quarterback in the league, 2-time MVP within the last 2 or 3 years, one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the league, and we just couldn't find a way to make that work. Now, do the players have to own some of that? Absolutely. But they're not the ones making all the play calls and all that sort of stuff. And the coaches are the ones who are supposed to set them up for success, right? So I think we underperformed. So I think that that what's his name? Tomlin. About to say Tomlin's son, like the day name. But I think Mike Tomlin, I think he actually often overperformed for the talent he had.
Mhm.
Right. So I don't think he was as due to, no, by the way, it's not like he stepped down, honestly. So I don't think, he was more surprising to me than Harbaugh, because Harbaugh underperformed for the talent that we had. Right now, I may be speaking from a fan standpoint, but that's the way that I believe. So what do you see?
That means Tomlin's right behind Tom Landry as never having a losing season for 19 years.
And he should have, because he didn't have
19,
winning season talent,
which tells
every
you
year.
what kind of coach he was.
Absolutely.
He was able to make the most, just like what they did in San Francisco. You make the most with the people you have to work with.
Yep.
That's a good leader. And I think we, as leaders in business, look at people like that and say, that's how you do it.
Right.
You work with what you're given, and you try to make them the best that they can be, so that when the next person comes up, they have the confidence that they know that they're the next up, that they're ready to go, and they want to prove it. Yeah. And I think if you are a good leader, you create that mindset within your organization, which is very impressive. I mean, Tomlin can land wherever he wants to.
And I don't know that he wants to anywhere.
And he may not want to. He may be done. I mean, I remember when he was the youngest coach hired. That's how old I am. Like, he was the youngest coach in place, and I'm like, what are they doing? And then to have 19 years of always being over 500 in the NFL, are you freaking kidding me? When there's teams that go, 3-15, 3-13, it's terrible. And I mean, dang, you don't see coaches writing out careers like that.
Right.
I mean, that's an impressive career right there. And if he wants
to go into broadcasting and call it a day, bro. Like, sometimes you get that itch and you can't.
Look what Sean Payton went back after, and look what he did with the Broncos after the Broncos were nothing. Are you kidding me? True. Now, I mean, they're not going to win because they lost their quarterback. Obviously, it's going to be Seattle, but not Seattle, New England. Even though they felt that New England had an easier go at it, with the season, who cares? They made it to the championship round, so it doesn't matter if you feel like they had an easy go. They stayed healthy and strong.
Mm-hmm. And if they beat you, what you argue about that?
You can't keep arguing. You can't keep arguing. They had an easy schedule because they made it through the tough, So good for them, But I think in my mind, I mean, it's going to be Seattle that probably is going to end up winning it out, just because
the whole thing. You think?
Yeah, more than likely.
Right, so hold on. So we got the Broncos and New England, and then we got Seattle. Don't say anything. Seattle and is it the Rams? Who are they playing? Seattle and are they playing the Rams? Okay, Seattle and the LA Rams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that if I remember the news well enough, I think Stafford is doing a bunch of turnovers, and so I don't think that can continue, right? So I would go with Seattle as well. So Seattle versus New England. That is not a sexy Super Bowl.
No, it's not a Super Bowl people want to watch. Plus, you have Bad Bunny involved as the Super Bowl. So
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny going to be doing.
I just said Bad Bunny. I was like, what's that?
Bad Bunny. So I think it might be the lowest watched Super Bowl.
Bad Bunny is one of the most popular artists in the world. Why would that be
in the world? But I'm not just talking about Bad Bunny. I'm talking about the fact that it like you said before, it's not sexy. It's probably going to be Seattle and New England, and that's only because Denver lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
If Denver's quarterback was in, it's going to be Denver and Seattle, which is
I don't know that I would have made.
But it's not sexy. People don't. They're not a big fan base for either one of them, really. So I'm saying,
my LB.
If you had a more maybe sexier teams in, as well as the halftime show was popular and exciting. But there's controversy around the halftime show. Even though he's the most popular, highest selling artist in the world. In the U.S., we're very narrow-minded, and that's just the way.
Well, and the controversy is for half of the country the way that everything is wrong for half the country, and
yes, that is exactly right. So it's too much change for them for what they want to do. So I think it is going to be tough. I'm going to watch it. I'm still watching the Super Bowl. It's
commercials
not
are
just
nothing else.
tradition. The
It's a thing
commercials
to
are
do with your
usually
people,
good,
all that sort of stuff, right?
The commercials aren't as good as they used to be. It used to be every commercial was amazing, and now it's like you might get 5 that you remember.
Yeah, that's
in
fair, but you still look.
3.5 hours, you're looking for maybe 4 or 5 good commercials.
Yeah, maybe, but it's worth looking at. You know what I'm saying? But it's also an event. It's a thing to do, right? You don't usually watch the Super Bowl by yourself. So you're with people. So it's a thing. It's a social event, even if it's not great. And it becomes more social if it's less about watching the TV, right? You know what I'm saying? So.
But this season of the NFL was the most surprising, I would say, that we've had in years.
Like all of the perennials are out.
Everyone that you thought was going to make it, everything was normal. Like any given team could lose any given week, which is just crazy.
And so many teams that you didn't expect were up. Like think about the Jaguars were one of the better teams this year. Like so many teams, like
New England. What? Are you kidding me? Like
Vrabel's got to win the Coach of the Year, by the way. He's got to win that. Like
who?
Mike Vrabel, the New England coach.
Oh, he's got to be recognized. I mean, him, 49ers coach.
I have that wrong. Is it Vrabel?
I don't know his name.
I think it's Vrabel. Yeah, I think it's Vrabel. Yeah. But
So
either way, the coach of New England, he was the Tennessee coach. He needs to. He should be Coach of the Year for sure. He did a good job.
Yeah. So it was just an unusual season. I mean, the Texans getting as far as they did, I mean, just just teams were not
CJ Stroud, but CJ Stroud, man, I'm like, bro, stop throwing dumb passes, man. And I like him. Like I became a Texans fan. I'm not a super fan or anything, but I started following the Texans because of CJ Stroud. And I like DeMeco Ryans as well. And I was just like, bro, what are you doing? Like I was just like,
Brett Favre used to do that. Remember back in the day, he was a good gunslinger, right? He just take his chances and throw it and go. And CJ Stroud is similar. He wants to take chances. He wants to, but you can't force stuff. That's the problem.
You got to make it pay off then. Okay, so be that way, but make it pay off.
Correct.
Because sometimes the market's like that.
He got into the wild card, So I mean, he did something there, but it was a
wild card.
It was an exciting season because it wasn't boring. You didn't know who was going to win. The people you expected to win did not win a lot of these games this season, and it was a fun season because of it. I think.
So, do you think this is a changing of the guard, or do you think this is a blip, an anomaly?
I think this was the time where. Age caught up with a lot of teams, and deals caught up with a lot of teams. And now there's going to just be moves happening to calm the waters and get things a little bit more even. So next year should be maybe a little different, but to be honest with you, I liked it. I liked not knowing who was going to win. It's exhausting to turn on a TV and see a blowout of 40-12. No one wants those aren't fun games. The games that go down to the last 2 minutes are the fun games. So, yes, we've gone over a little bit.
No, I was looking outside. Something happened outside my window with the snow, but I think we're good. I don't worry about going over, man. It's all
I know you don't. But I do have to run. I do have to head on out. But I want you to have a great birthday today, man. I hope you enjoy your family.
Appreciate that. Yeah, you only turned 40 once, man. So I'm gonna do it up today.
You're trying to do it twice, but I see what you're doing there. That's nice. It's like your 12th anniversry of your 40th. That's good.
Yes. Yes. 12th anniversary of turning 40. That's exactly right.
But you're looking well.
I need to. If I shave this, if I don't have my gray in my beard, I'd be good to go.
Younger for sure. Would be good.
Look at that young dude right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. Look at that old ass motherfucker. Look
around the eyes.
You know what I'm saying?
That's great, man. You could just wear a mask all the time.
There you go. Wear a mask and nobody
mask and sunglasses. They may mistake you for ice, but whatever.
Are you saying my eyes are old?
No, you're fine, man.
Okay, you said sunglasses, man. I got sexy eyes, bro. You know what I'm saying? So
go enjoy your family. Go enjoy your day, and happy birthday, man.
I appreciate it. You too, man. Tell the family I said hello.
I will.
All right.
Take care.
All right, peace.
You've been listening to On Second Thought with Eric Ritchie and Bish Bates, where it's never too late to rethink, rewind, and revisit the conversation. If you laughed, learned, or had your own On Second Thought moment, go ahead and subscribe, share, and leave us a review. We want to hear your thoughts, even if you change them later. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at On Second Thought Show, and join the conversation. Until next time, keep thinking, keep growing, and don't be afraid to say, you know what? On second thought,